Two planes carrying much-needed relief supplies have arrived in the Yemeni capital Sanaa. The aircraft have brought in medical equipment and food and water supplies from the Red Cross and the UN Children's Fund, Unicef. The UN has warned that basic services are unraveling in Yemen, with widespread food and fuel shortages. Meanwhile, Pakistan has ruled itself out of joining the Saudi-led coalition fighting Houthi rebels in Yemen. Pakistan's parliament voted against joining its ally, Saudi Arabia, saying in a resolution that it should maintain neutrality in Yemen. Humanitarian pause. The International Committee of the Red Cross, ICRC, said its plane landed in Sanaa carrying 16 tons of medical aid, including drugs and surgical equipment. UNICEF's plane has flown in the same amount of aid, bringing food supplements for 20,000 children as well as medical supplies. The supplies we have managed to bring in today can make the difference between life and death for children and their families, said UNICEF's Julien Harneis. The arrival of the flights comes after days of delays while both organizations waited for clearance from all sides in the conflict to land in Yemen. The UN's Humanitarian Coordinator for Yemen has called for a humanitarian pause in the bombardment and fighting on the ground to allow the aid to be delivered. Johannes van der Klaauw told reporters in Geneva that the conflict has now spread to 15 of Yemen's 22 provinces. He described the situation in Aden in particular as catastrophic, a descent into urban warfare, with control of the air and seaports shifting daily between rival groups. A million people in the city risk being cut off from access to clean water within a matter of days unless additional fuel is brought in, he said. The World Health Organization, WHO, says almost 650 people have been killed and more than 2,200 have been injured since March 19, but Mr. van der Klaauw said the actual number of casualties is likely to be far higher because many are not being brought to hospital or are being buried immediately. Diplomatic role. Yemen has been in chaos since Houthi rebels, backed by army units loyal to the ousted former President Ali Abdullah Saleh, took full control of Sanaa in January and placed current President Abdrabbuh Mansur Hadi under house arrest. Mr. Hadi escaped and took refuge in Aden in February, but left the country at the end of March when the Houthis reached the outskirts of the southern port city. Saudi Arabia began airstrikes 2 weeks ago against the Houthis, a Zaidi Shia rebel movement that the US and Saudi Arabia allege is receiving military assistance from regional Shia power Iran. But they have failed to halt the Houthi advance into Aden, as well as neighboring southern and eastern provinces. Overnight, coalition aircraft targeted the Defense Ministry building in Sanaa and weapons storage sites. Saudi Arabia asked Pakistan last month to contribute ships, aircraft, and troops to the campaign to restore Mr. Hadi to power. But after days of debate, Pakistan's parliament voted to maintain neutrality in the Yemen conflict so as to be able to play a proactive diplomatic role to end the crisis. Analysts say Pakistan, which has a Sunni majority but also a sizable Shia minority, fears being caught between the two if it sends troops to Yemen.